The country is divided tonight. There's quite a contrast in temperatures from east to west. March is going out like a lamb in Boston. The weather gave you fever, spring fever that is, especially with temperatures in the 70s today. It was the opposite in the west. Many spots experienced winter weather. You saw flakes fly here in Boise today. Meanwhile, rain is the problem in much of the mid-south and southeast. A slow-moving storm is soaking the region. These are scenes from Dyersburg, Tennessee, just north of Memphis. Hello and welcome to Weather Center, sponsored by Venistat. I'm Mike Seidel. Thanks for watching.
And I'm Paul Emmick. We'll bring you the conditions coast to coast and have your all-important forecast. Plus, Dr. William Gray has his forecast for the hurricane season. First, let's focus our attention on the southeast and the northeast. As we look at that section of our country now, we'll work toward the west and the wintry stories with Mike in just a few moments. In the southeast, it's a bit damp, and that wet weather has eyes on moving. That movement will carry it on to the northeast. The problem in the southeast tonight is New England's problem going into the day on Thursday. Here are the happenings presently. Pretty quiet into Texas now. We've cleared out Biloxi, Mississippi, quieter. That slow-moving system, an area of low pressure called a cutoff low, meaning it didn't have any real upper support to kick it any direction, just slowly drifting. Now starting to move a bit north and east. That means you'll see more rain into parts of Indiana and Ohio. And by the morning commute in toward Pittsburgh, that's our problem. Here's where it lies currently around Indianapolis. It's wet. Going out around Broad Ripple here shortly. Expect a few showers to linger. A little wet around Cincinnati, around Covington Landing into Tennessee. Drier toward Dyersburg into Memphis and Nashville. But East Tennessee, you're seeing rainfall. Around Atlanta, Georgia, you have plans to get behind the wheel tonight. You may want to slow it down just a bit. I'm kind of worried about you on the roadways there when you got that kind of rain falling. Not heavy soaking rains, but just some very consistent showers. That can be pretty deceptive when you do get behind the wheel. We'll talk more about travel conditions and how all this weather relates and travel-wise just a few moments away. Now, further south, you are seeing some rain into Florida, including Tallahassee, even a few rumbles of thunder possible in the Florida Panhandle. But it's the lack of rain causing many problems into South Florida, like where the fires have been popping around Homestead. Thick smoke covering the area throughout Wednesday. That's where firefighters were fighting to put out the small brush fires that were very close to many homes. In southwest Miami-Dade County, about 30 acres burned. No injuries have been reported, luckily, as a result of that. Problem is, this is how much rainfall we're expecting, and it's not going to be enough to provide any relief into South Florida. The rainfall here pretty much over. Not much expected to happen. Along the Chattahoochee River, a kind of darker green shade there indicates maybe a bit over an inch. Some of the high elevations in north parts of Georgia may pick up a little more, but mostly a half to an inch as our precipitation does move on north and east. Now, even if you didn't see the rain today, the clouds holding on to the southeast worked to hold down the temps. You only made it to 55 toward Atlanta, 63 toward Birmingham, nice and warm into Texas and very warm into Florida, and it's staying that way for the night. In the morning, pretty quiet in most areas too, but that area of precip is kicking on toward the northeast. Now, right now, high pressure has been our friend throughout northeast Philadelphia, New York City. It's been great. That's about to change. Our wind is already kicking up. It's brought a lot of warmth toward us, toward Boston. We've enjoyed the warm side of things, the flags flapping in the breeze here. A lot of people got out to take advantage of the weather. Temperatures reached the low 70s, well above average for this time of the year. Hope you enjoyed it today, because remember, the clouds are coming and cooler temperatures as a result. And some damp conditions too. 72 toward Boston today, 75 toward Pittsburgh. How about it, Philly? Nice day at 75. Cooling just a little bit tonight toward 59 degrees, but will cool and dampen going into the midday hours on toward Thursday. That's only about 1/3 of our country. Now let's focus toward the upper Midwest and the West with Mike Seidel.
And Paul, we've got a couple things to discuss here. We've got springtime weather in the plains and Midwest, and winter weather in the northern Rockies, and that's going to be spreading out through the plains tonight and tomorrow. Set the stage with a jet stream, big dip here, big trough, the cold air pouring in from Canada ahead of this trough with southwest winds not only at the surface but in the upper levels. It is warming up. Today's temperatures into the 70s around Chicago. In fact, way up here in Alpena and Sault Ste. Marie, way up in northern Michigan, record high 72 degrees, so spring has sprung there. But I wouldn't get used to it, because by Easter Sunday, it's going to be time to put the heavy overcoat back on. Switching gears, across that front, we get back into the cold air. Look at this huge spin in the atmosphere. Very powerful storm, but I want you to take a look at these clouds. Look how fast they're moving. Very strong jet stream. A lot of wind energy. Just to give you a heads up, if you're in the plains watching tonight, Dallas, Kansas City, over to St. Louis, parts of the Midwest, by Easter Sunday, all this wind energy and storminess could lead to a significant, rather severe weather outbreak. And of course, we'll keep you updated as we get closer to Easter weekend. In the meantime, storminess over the Rockies, over Colorado, cold air and snow from Laramie back through the Wasatch Front. Most of the rain and snow in the west and the far west is now easing off, and great weather ahead for those of you in Seattle and Portland over the next couple of days. Temperatures chilly. Boise 35, Vegas you're at 50, and if you're in Vegas today, down on the Strip, anywhere, check out these winds. Winds gusted as high as 50 miles an hour today. Now, that managed to knock over a few outdoor lunch tables. Blowing dust also delayed flights at the airport. Temperatures up in the low 60s. It's going to be a chilly night with lows in the upper 30s and snow elevations in those hills around Vegas down to about 2,500 feet. This is all snow. Look out around Rapid City in the Black Hills. There's a winter storm warning from the National Weather Service. Wind-driven snow in the forecast for tonight and tomorrow. A few leftover showers, a few snowflakes in the California Sierra. This will all be out of the way by tomorrow morning. So the drive into work in San Francisco and Los Angeles, Seattle and Portland ditto. Beautiful weather for a change. No stormy weather on at least the immediate horizon for the Pacific Northwest. So a lot happening to the east with our wind-driven snow and near blizzard conditions the first day of April. But for the west coast, down into the LA Basin, it turns sunny and pretty pleasant for this time of the year. Paul?
The 1999 hurricane season officially begins on June 1st. And right now is expected to be at least as active as last year. Dr. William Gray has put out his forecast, and he expects 14 named storms. Again, 14 storms named as a hurricane. Of those 14, 9 go on to become hurricanes. In other words, 14 tropical storm classification. Of those, 9 going on to become a hurricane. Of those 9, 4 may go on to reach major hurricane status. So obviously he's predicting a very active time throughout the year. Now let's take a look at how Dr. Gray derived some of his forecast and some of the happenings at the National Hurricane Conference that took place in Orlando. Still going on presently. Let's now hear from the Weather Channel's Rich Johnson.
Last year's hurricane season was very active. It will be remembered for 3 major hurricanes. Hurricane Bonnie struck North Carolina in August, causing widespread damage and killing 3 people. In September, Hurricane George made several landfalls, including the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and the Florida Keys, and finally the Gulf Coast. And then there was Hurricane Mitch, a devastating storm that hit Central America in October. More than 9,000 people died. Emergency officials from around the country are meeting this week to discuss the '98 season and the outlook for this year. Hurricane forecast expert Dr. William Gray is predicting that there will be 14 tropical storms this year, of which 9 will be hurricanes, and 4 of those Category 3 storms or stronger.
The climate signals, as best we can tell, are setting up for a very active year.
Well, Dr. Gray is forecasting above average activity, and that looks pretty good to us. You know, the average out in the Atlantic is about 9 storms a year, and Dr. Gray this year is forecasting 14. We think that looks pretty reasonable.
People at the hurricane conference were told today to not get too preoccupied with the number of storms.
But keep in mind, it only takes one hurricane to hit your coastal area, so people should be prepared at all times, whether it's a quiet season or a busy season.
And that's the focus of this year's conference, to be prepared. For the Weather Channel, I'm Rich Johnson.
Because the U.S. and its NATO allies are involved in a military action in Yugoslavia, we'd like to bring you the latest on the weather conditions taking place there. If you look in the lower right corner of your screen, the happenings there indicate a little swirl. You can see the counterclockwise spin. That's where most of the heavier rains have been. But into the areas that are being affected right now, some clouds and some drizzle. Not all-day rains, but a bit of drizzle has been affecting the region. Presently, temperatures in the 40s, 48 to Belgrade, 46 to Sarajevo. Overnight, a little cooling, but because of the clouds, the cloud blanket won't let a lot of the heat escape, so temperature won't vary greatly. End of the day on Thursday, expect a few clouds and temperatures there into the middle 50s. That's a look at the weather internationally. You're probably thinking in terms of the forecast for Thursday. To guide us that way, here's the Weather Channel's Mike Seidel.
And Paul, we've got a little bit of everything as we kick off the first day of April. Hard to believe it's already April, and we're dealing with, we've got winter weather on the map in the western plains and moving towards the upper Midwest, wind-driven snow. Back east, we've got a little bit of rain, something we don't have that we often see in early April, severe weather. That is coming this weekend just in time for Easter. But in the meantime, in Tornado Alley and through the plains, it's windy, it's warm, it is beautiful. Northeast, not too bad either. A little chilly with that backdoor cold front, 17 in Caribou. Look out, the rain is approaching from the southwest, Washington into New York and Boston later in the day on Thursday. The rain exits Atlanta, and as the sun returns, the temperatures really become balmy. And if you're spring breaking it in Florida, beautiful weather returning to the Panhandle, starting off at 71 in Miami, so you know you're going to be up there between 80 and 85. Windy, mild overnight, Chicago, Minneapolis, St. Paul, chance of a shower. Then back in the cold air, that's where we find the snow and the blowing snow and the drifting snow. If you've got any travel through the plains, check back with us. Check with the latest road conditions in the Dakotas, Wyoming, and into parts of Montana. Very strong winds around our storm. That air is going to be coming up from the lower latitudes from the equator effectively. So that's why temperatures tomorrow are going to be very, very balmy around Dallas, St. Louis, and KC. The rain scoots up the coast, doesn't get too far to the west, so it'll be breezy and kind of mild around Indianapolis and Cleveland, but the snowfall is going to be the big story. Late season snow across the Black Hills into Yellowstone National Park, and some rainfall as we check out the rainfall in the southeast, light amounts. Temperatures overnight kind of cool in the west. Springtime across most of the eastern two-thirds of the country. Paul?
Under rare atmospheric conditions, the moon can actually appear bluish. However, according to the commonly held definition, tonight we have a blue moon. It's the second full moon this month and the second blue moon this year. We've had 2 full moons in January as well, and astronomers say we won't see another blue moon until November of 2001.
Next up, travel-wise.
We'll take a look at that after your local forecast. Stay tuned.
This program was sponsored by Venus for healthy legs from the inside out.